Welcome. Today we're making a mouth-watering pan-seared steak, a simple yet flavorful way to enjoy a perfectly cooked steak right in your kitchen. In just a few easy steps, you'll be enjoying a juicy, tender steak cooked to your exact liking. Let's dive in and get cooking. Alright, let's get started with a delicious pan-seared steak. First, you'll need a boneless ribeye steak, or your favorite cut like sirloin or filet mignon. Season it generously with kosher salt and freshly cracked black pepper for that perfect flavor. You'll also need about 2 tablespoons of olive oil for searing and 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter to finish it off. For that extra depth of flavor, grab 2 garlic cloves, smashed, and 2 sprigs of fresh thyme. And for an optional finishing touch, have some chopped fresh parsley on hand to garnish. Now let's get cooking. Alright, let's start by preparing our steak. Take your boneless ribeye steak, or whichever cut you're using, and bring it to room temperature. It's important to let it sit out for at least 30 minutes before cooking. This ensures it cooks more evenly. While it's coming to temperature, grab a paper towel and gently pat both sides of the steak dry. You want to remove any moisture, because that moisture will prevent you from getting that beautiful sear. Now it's time to season. Generously sprinkle kosher salt and freshly cracked black pepper on both sides of the steak. Don't be shy. This seasoning will help bring out the rich flavors during searing. Now, let's get our skillet ready. Choose a heavy pan, preferably cast iron, because it holds heat better and gives you that perfect sear. Place it on the stove over medium-high heat. Let it heat up for a couple of minutes. To check if it's hot enough, drop a few drops of water onto the pan. If they sizzle and evaporate immediately, it's time to cook. Make sure the pan is nice and hot before adding any oil. This will help achieve that perfect golden brown crust on the steak. Once your pan is preheated, add about 2 tablespoons of oil to the pan. Something like olive or vegetable oil with a high smoke point works best. Swirl it around to coat the bottom evenly. Now carefully place the steak in the pan, away from you, to avoid any splattering. Let it sear without moving it for about 3 to 4 minutes. Don't try to flip it too early. You want a rich, deep crust. Once it's golden brown on the first side, carefully flip it over and let it sear on the other side for another 3 to 4 minutes. This will get you a great medium rare, but you can adjust the time for more well-done steaks. Now it's time to add some flavor. After flipping your steak, reduce the heat to medium and add 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter to the pan. As the butter melts, drop in your smashed garlic cloves and fresh thyme sprigs. The butter will begin to bubble and foam. This is your chance to start basting the steak. Use a spoon to ladle the melted butter, garlic, and thyme over the steak. This will infuse your steak with all that rich, aromatic flavor. Keep basting for about 2 minutes, making sure the steak cooks evenly and the butter enhances the flavor. Here comes the most crucial part, checking the doneness of your steak. If you're aiming for medium rare, the internal temperature should be about 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 54 degrees Celsius. For medium, look for 140 degrees Fahrenheit or 60 degrees Celsius. To be precise, use a meat thermometer to check the temperature in the thickest part of the steak. This takes the guesswork out of it. If you don't have a thermometer, you can also do the touch test or simply rely on the cooking time to estimate how well done it is. Keep in mind that the steak will continue to cook slightly after removing it from the pan. Once the steak is done to your liking, carefully remove it from the pan and place it on a cutting board. Let it rest for about 5 to 10 minutes. Resting is key because it allows the juices to redistribute throughout the meat, making it much more flavorful and juicy. If you skip this step, you'll lose all that deliciousness when you cut into the steak. While it's resting, you can just relax and admire your work. Your steak is about to be perfect. Alright, it's time to serve up that gorgeous steak. After resting, grab a sharp knife and slice the steak against the grain. This helps ensure it's nice and tender. If you like, sprinkle some fresh chopped parsley over the top for an added burst of color and flavor. And there you have it, a beautifully seared steak that's juicy, tender, and full of flavor. Serve it with your favorite side dish and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Lastly, here are a few tips to keep in mind for a perfect steak. First, don't overcrowd the pan. If you're cooking more than one steak, leave some space between them. This ensures they sear properly and don't steam. Control the heat as needed. If the steak is browning too quickly, lower the heat slightly so it cooks through without burning. Remember to use a thermometer for precise doneness. This is the most reliable way to avoid overcooking. And don't skip the resting step. Let your steak rest for a few minutes before slicing to lock in those juicy flavors. Finally, always slice against the grain for a tender melt-in-your-mouth bite. Follow these tips for a restaurant-quality steak every time. Now, enjoy your homemade pan-seared steak.